Hi, welcome back. This is lesson 5 in our series of what to do with your left hand. I'm getting some very encouraging comments from some of my subscribers, some of you actually, and I'm glad that it's helping you because playing the piano, I've always played the organ and the keyboard, so you don't really need a very active left hand to do that, but on the piano, you really need to learn to be creative and have courage just to let go and try new things. So today we're going to talk about a style called Alberti Bass, and it's very easy. It kind of takes up from where we left off last week with the style. So let's get started. Okay, I learned this a long time ago, this Alberti Bass. I guess a guy named Mr. Alberti made it up. I really don't know. But it's kind of fun to play, and you can use it in a lot of different styles, not just this style. The one that we did last week, which is the bass and the chord. This sounds really good when you invert the chord. So invert means to turn over, and I've done some lessons that you can refer back, scroll back and find chord inversions. It's also, I talk about it on page 14 in my book, so you can go to sacramentomusicgroup.com and purchase that book. But I do have some videos on chord inversions, but a chord inversion is pretty simple actually, and I did recommend to you a few months back to learn how to spell the basic chords, just the white note chords. So there's lots of ways that you can do that. The easiest way is just every other letter of the alphabet. So a C chord will be C, D invisible, E, F, G. And you just play every note, C, E, G. F chord, F, G, A, B, C. G chord, G, A, B, C, D. Then the D, the E, and the A, if you spell A-D-E, A-D-E, it spells aid. Those chords need help. So A chord, you play every other note, but the middle note gets a sharp. And I explain that in my book on the scale sheet page. Why does the A scale have a sharp there? It's because of the pattern. Scroll back, find how to play scales, and that's all explained. And I really don't have time to do that in this session, but you can find it on some of my other videos. And D has a sharp in the middle, and E has a sharp in the middle. Okay? The only one that's different is the B chord. B, D, F, and the best way to remember this one is the D gets sharped, and so does the F. So it's called, you have to be sharp to play this. So you have two sharps in the B, and don't worry about it because you're very rarely ever going to play it. You're going to play a B flat chord much more often. So B flat, D, F. So I know why, that's why God gave me 5 fingers. So I go C, D, E, F, G, C, E, G. Okay, the root position, and a lot of teachers call this the first position, excuse me, but it's really called the root position because the name of the chord is at the base like the root of a tree. If you flip the chord over and the ingredients in a C chord are C, E, and G, you cannot ever change those ingredients. C chord is always spelled C, E, G. All right, it's the first, the fifth, and the first, the third, and the fifth step of a scale. Okay, so there's the C chord. If I take the C off the bottom and I move it to the top, I still have a C chord, C, E, G. All I did was I changed the pitch of the C note. Instead of playing it down here, I'm playing it up here, 1 octave higher. So now I have the C chord in the root position and the first inversion. And it's a first inversion because the name of the chord is on top. If you're in a race with 3 people and you finish on top, you are first. So this is the first inversion. Now I can take the E off the bottom and I can put it on the top. this is a C chord in the second inversion. If the name of the chord is in the middle, or you're in a race and you finish in the middle, you are second. So this is a second inversion C chord. And now if I flip it again, take that C chord down here and put it up here, I'm back to the root position an octave higher. And they kind of feel, they all feel the same as far as how the chords will work. But if I play the root position, it's just every other note. It's a fifth, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, from the top to the bottom, with a note in the middle. If you remember a cheaty chord that we talked about, it's also 4 half steps and 3 half steps. C, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3. And I'm not going to explain that now, but there is a whole series on cheaty chord that you can look back at. Okay? So let's just put the damper pedal down, and we're just going to invert the chord. So the first one feels like that. Okay? It's a fifth. If I play the next inversion, the first inversion, now instead of a fifth, I have 4 notes in between, and it feels like this, like a sixth. In class, I called it "I'm a Little Teapot." You know that little song, "I'm a little teapot." And then if I flip it again, it's still a sixth. So it's 5, 6, 6. So I can just lock my hand. And I think lesson number 8, we're going to talk about open chords. And so if you practice this now, the open chords are going to be really simple. So I'm going to play a C chord, another C chord, and another C chord. Okay, so just practice. You can practice both hands together too. It's good to put your right hand into this practice routine, because later on I'm going to teach you how to put notes under a melody, probably lesson 10 in this series. So just keep practicing so both of your hands get trained. A lot of people train their left hand to play chords and their right hand still playing one note. So eventually you're going to want to do more with your right hand too. So you might as well suffer with both hands while you're learning and get your right hand trained. And it's really kind of cool. So this session is called chord and inversion, bass and inversions. So you're going to play the bass note. So in 4/4 time, you're going to go bass note on 1, 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Now notice that time I didn't start the chord in the root position because I liked the way it sounded when it was a little closer. So I just went and just started in a different inversion. Doesn't matter. If you've practiced, you know that a G chord can be here too. So just wherever your hand lands is good. And what happens if you land on the wrong chord? If you play a C chord here and you do this, just fix it on the next beat. And that, actually I found as I start noodling and teaching people, and I always teach them never to stop. If you hit it the wrong chord, you can actually get a kind of a cool chord progression. See? And nobody knows, and they're going to go, ooh, what was that? So sometimes fixing a mistake, if you just keep your cool and don't go, oh my gosh, I just totally messed it up, I have to start over. Don't ever start over. Just keep going, and sometimes your mistakes actually sound more advanced. So keep that in mind. All right, so now if you want to play Ode to Joy, you can go up an octave so your hands don't run together. So now I've added a roll in there, and so now my left hand. Now, here's another fun thing you can do. My students love this. They go two hands like this. And you can just practice. So get out your circle and just go around the circle doing these exercises. So start with a C chord and then move to an F and then move back to C and then move back to G. So you're doing a little blues progression. Chords. And you know, there's two ways that a songwriter writes a song. They either just sit and noodle like I was just doing and pretty soon a song comes out, or they have a melody in their mind and then they put the chords to it. But generally, you can just sit and noodle. I think the guy that wrote Oh Holy Night was just noodling a chord. There's so many things that you can do, but an Alberti bass, when you're just alternating your chords like this, or you can play the bass, or a 3/4 time, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, makes a really nice waltz. Waltzes are really kind of boring, but when you do something like this, and use your damper pedal, you can have so much fun just noodling around with a bass and a chord inversion. Okay, that's the lesson for today. Okay, now you have 5 styles under your belt. And don't worry if you don't get them all in a week or 2 weeks. You can refer back to these as we go. When I'm finished with the series, I'm going to make a little booklet, or actually probably just a piece of paper that has all the styles written on it. So you can put it on your music rack and you can kind of refer to it. We're going to make it very short and very simple, and hopefully you will have learned the terms for the styles and have them in your head, and then you can use them whenever you need them when you're playing. We'll probably cap off the 10 weeks with a little thing on just noodling and playing, sitting down and playing with no music, and just be able to take these styles and write new songs. If you have a talent to write songs, these styles of the left hand will help you greatly. I also encourage you to look at our website, sacramentomusicgroup.com, and because we are using this first aid chord kit that I wrote, there aren't a lot of books out on how to play chords and how to understand how they're formed. Fortunately for me, my parents gave me private piano lessons, and my teacher was an old school piano teacher, and she taught me scales and she taught me arpeggios. She didn't tell me that they were chords, but I did have a basic knowledge of keys and how they relate to chords. But there aren't a lot of books out now that tell you what I've learned over the years since then. So after college, actually, I learned chords. I wish I would have known them before, because it would have made my classical music and everything so much easier for memorizing, for improvising, and just sitting down and playing with no music. So go to sacramentomusicgroup.com and you will see all of the products that we have to help you in your musical journey. We'll see you next week.